It is 3 p.m. And I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. If we could please have a roll call.
Freeman.
Here.
Amobian.
Here.
Malik.
Here.
Baylor.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 All right. We had one item on the old agenda that we had referred last week. Mr. Wheeler,
I haven't heard anything.
okay,
so
okay,
if
very
there's any
good.
questions.
So I think we'd like to have this passed here before
suspension of the rules, please.
take our break. So do I have a motion to suspend the rules for a favorable report, or are there any questions first? Is that a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Thank you very, very much. All right, on to new legislation. First up, we have an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond of the city in a principal amount not to exceed $15,500,000 for sale to the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund of the State of Ohio to finance the costs of Riverside Sewer Operation or Separation CSO RAC 34 project, pledging certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a subordinated basis to secure the payment of the principal of and interest on the bond, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond, the trust agreement, and other documents, and the taking of other actions related to the issuance and sale of the bond, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Back in July, this council passed legislation to allow us to move forward with this project. This is the RAC 34 separation. This was part of one of the last consent decree projects. As I explained back there in July, the original was a 24-foot diameter tunnel that started down on Peck Road and came out there on Front Street by the Ohio Edison power plant. We have decided that it would be a better option to separate this section of sewer system. With that, we are able to get case team approval for a 16-foot diameter tunnel, which is a lot less disruption to that neighborhood. We've had 2 public meetings. We've sent out 640 letters to every property owner that are abutting this. Most of this tunnel is going to be under the street, under Riverside. It's only going under a few property owners' property. Out of those 640 letters, Councilman Lombardo helped us get the word out. I think we only had 26 residents come to those meetings. So we're continuing that conversation by reaching out to those residents. So this legislation obviously is for the bond. We are bidding that project currently. I think we have 5 people have pulled plans, or 6 companies. They are due back on Thursday. We hope to start this project early in the year next year. As I said back in July, we're basically putting all new storm sewer on these streets from the break and grade, which is about the 1100 block of all these streets, all the way to Riverside Drive, and then tying in a new sewer down the hill. So with that, I'll take any questions, but I respectfully would ask to suspend the rules because of this bond legislation. Unfortunately, interest rates are ticking up. They're a little over 3% now, but it is a 45-year loan.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? And then we would entertain any questions from other council members.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Amobian?
I'm curious, Mr. Little, what are some of the concerns of the residents when they have expressed concern?
Well, they basically want to know what's the impact to whether it's their yard or their house, and what we've shown them, what we've found in our area. And obviously with the other tunnel, we're all in rock. So basically we are drilling under Riverside Drive. We're going to be between 130 and 180 feet below grade. So we don't see that there's going to be any problem, no disruption. They're not going to fill the drilling, but they want to know what the impacts to them, and they are interested in the project, especially with separating the sewers and removing a lot of this influent from going into the river.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Malik?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotto. I'm really glad to hear about this and the ability to reduce the size of the north side tunnel. Do we know what the estimated cost of the tunnel will end up being?
Well, preliminary, we think about, with all-in design and inspection, we feel like it's probably going to be about 180. It's about a $39 million savings over the larger tunnel. Question is, until we get those bids, sir, you know, that was preliminary. Sure. So we didn't do a re-estimate, but if you look at what the I think it was 212 or $220 million 24-foot diameter tunnel, those costs would have to go up based on just escalation since COVID.
Sure.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Lombardo?
Yes, I was just going to comment with Councilwoman Amobian's comments regarding what are their questions, and I guess just for the record, I remember them all saying as far as, okay, after the project's done, then when do we get our street paved? So could you comment on that?
So in this project where we're putting in a new storm sewer, we're not tearing out the whole road. So in the design, let's just take Lexington Avenue. The combination sewer's in the middle of the street. Let's say they take the west side of the street. They'll do a trench, they'll put the new storm sewer in, all new inlets, reconfigure them, and then they will, in the project, they will have to pave curb to curb. So the paving will be done after the project's done, okay? So it's very specific on their trench. They have to concrete it, but obviously with the asphalt plants not opening up, and if they start, whether it's this year or the fall, they have to concrete that trench. They have to maintain access to the neighbors at all, to their driveways at all time, whether it's temporary or it's the concrete pavement. There will be 16 lead services removed in this project. For North Hill, that's probably low when you take all these streets, but we've done a couple projects up there where we've taken a lot of lead services out. So there's other streets that have 30 or 40 on them, but on these particular 7 streets, there's not that many at 16. So they will be taken out with this project.
On Clifton Avenue, would that be related to this project or like a lead project? Clifton had that same.
Clifton will be removed in this project if it's from 1100 north.
Yes.
Okay, so if
Well,
it's in the 800 block, it'll be in a separate project because that's not in the limits of this project.
Okay. Seems like they already completed a project on Clifton.
So they may have already done them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Amobian?
I'm curious, I think Mr. Frickens there, I think I see him. The interest rate with these loans is low, isn't it?
Yes, so looking at the website today, the 45-year rate is sitting at a 3.31 right now. So that is a little above, what we've been getting over the past couple of years, but I would say historically, that's still a very good rate in comparison with what we would have gotten 10 to 15 years ago. We're still in a pretty good financing environment. We're very fortunate to have the state of Ohio's revolving loan program that's in place, that we get some of the best financing rates in the country because Ohio has such a robust program.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Malik?
Thank you. Obviously, these bonds have to be repaid, and obviously this implicates our sewer rate. Have there been any recent reviews of the rate given some of these latest developments around the consent decree?
The last rate analysis we did showed no rate increases before 2024. That still holds true. We have not reevaluated our program since we've got this smaller tunnel in the 39 million. Okay, so there would be another rate analysis. But right now, it didn't show any, and we don't anticipate any rate increases in 2023 at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if there's no other questions, looking for a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and several seconds. So all in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 3, this is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into an agreement or agreements without the formality of advertising for bids for the purchase of miscellaneous supplies, services, repair parts, and labor for machinery and equipment used by various divisions and departments of the city for a period of 1 year, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this piece of legislation is what we commonly refer to as the no-bid ordinance. This is an annual ordinance that we do each year that basically allows for a lot of the kind of proprietary parts and services that we buy in the various operations of the city to be purchased without having to bring each individual piece, because these are the very routine things that we do. Oftentimes, there are parts that, for specific equipment that we have that, so we pass that on one big piece of legislation. If there's any questions, we've shown all of the various vendors by each department within the city. If there's any questions, we do have Luba Kramer, who's our purchasing agent, that I don't know if many of you have met her, but new to us over the past year or so. She put this together, and if there's any questions, hopefully me or Luba can answer those.
Okay. Say we buy, we're buying our widgets off of XYZ, and we bought our widgets off of XYZ for 5 years. When do we go out and say, hey, we need to shop this again? Go ahead.
So for this no bid list, our regular purchasing process still is in place where
Okay.
we would go and get competitive quotes.
Okay, very good.
But with this no bid, it is allowing us, if that amount throughout the year exceeds the $50,000 amount, that is the threshold that we have where we say we have to go out for sealed bid.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that explanation. Mr. Malik?
Thank you very much. I guess one question that I'm wondering is, do we know kind of what amounts in each of these categories we intend to spend?
The departments have provided a range, although we, for lack of a better way of handling it, we have sort of combined it and we've done an all-encompassing, because lots of times there's really no way of knowing, because we're really projecting forward what might happen in the year. So therefore, some of these things really we may not even be utilizing. It's just an anticipated, lack of a better word, a guess or a request that we might be using it. So
Could those estimates or ranges be provided even if they're not going to be incorporated as a restriction in the ordinance?
yes. So typically what we're going to do at the beginning of the year, once this is passed, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get quotes, especially if we're getting blanket purchase orders, and that is going to give us either hourly rates or parts or reduced cost. We may seek out contracts through the state of Ohio or a consortium. We're going to apply those rates and those dollar amounts on that blanket order, so therefore the departments then can utilize the purchase orders. So that's what we're going to do in order to make sure that we have the pricing and the cost. As we all know, pricing has gone up tremendously this past year, so it's very difficult to know what the projections are for the coming year. And there are a lot of vendors that are not securing pricing beyond a year. I mean, I know typically we would try to go out when we were doing bids for like a 3-year term. We're finding a lot of the vendors will not do that. At best, they're trying to give us pricing for a year. In some cases, they're only holding prices perhaps 3 months to 6 months as well.
Okay, no, that's really helpful. But those ranges or estimates could be provided? Is that possible? You mentioned the departments had provided.
Right, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Amobian, I see your hand? Or no?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. Amobian.
Chair, I know that we've been trying to increase our procurement opportunities for minority contractors. Can you give us any kind of idea what the percentages have been? Like, we did this last year, I assume, and with this year, will you be able to provide us with some percentages, dollar amounts, and how well we'll do it in that area?
So we utilize two different tools to help us come up with those numbers. One of them is a bidding tool, and that's for sealed bids, and it's an e-procurement tool that we use, Bonfire. That's where all of our sealed bids go out. And then the other tool is that we're also utilizing our Workday ERP system, in which we're able to take a vendor and run reports to determine the spend. So those are the tools that we're using, and we can certainly, compile some numbers of where we're at.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to know if we're making progress or not.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Malik? Okay, we have a motion for suspension of the rules.
So
Second.
Okay, and then we have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, like sign. All right, very good. Next item is item number 5, correct? Four, I'm sorry. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of materials and services needed by the various divisions and departments of the city for a period of time not to exceed 5 years, approving the specifications therefore, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the second piece, and this is what we commonly refer to as the bid ordinance. So these are the items that, again, are the supplies and materials and services utilized by, a wide variety of city service divisions. These are the materials that we use on a daily basis just for our basic operations. But these are the items that maybe aren't as proprietary, and therefore we bid all of these items out and get quotes for all of these in order to get the best pricing for them.
Very good. Thank you. Looking for questions or comments? Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. Excuse me. So the mowing services that are listed on page 2, does that include all city mowing, or what does that include?
Yes, that's all city mowing. So that's both for city-owned properties and the nuisance properties that we assess that are turned in, that go through our Department of Neighborhood. So it's both city-owned and non-city-owned properties.
Okay, but it's not like parks properties or?
No, those are done by city staff for the most part.
Okay, just vacant lots and
Yeah,
nuisance. Okay. And not all of these are bid for 5 years. Some of them are shorter. Most of them are shorter.
Correct, yeah, most of them are shorter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there some particularly notable ones that are 5 years?
Looking at the list, I really don't see any that are 5 years
Okay.
term. And like I mentioned before, I think it would be really difficult to get a 5-year term on most of the contracts.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We still bid grass annually? Do we still bid that cutting annually?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I don't see any other questions or comments.
Motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we have an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance to enter into an agreement or agreements with systems and software for support and maintenance of billing software for the Utilities Business Office in 2023 without the formality of advertising for bids and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is for the operation and maintenance of our utility billing software, which is currently in Questa. So our existing agreement expired at the end of 2022, and this will renew that for an additional year. By the end of next year, we hope to be on our new billing system, which is called Spry Point. So this will be the final year of this contract.
Okay, very good. Questions or comments? Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. It's a significant cost. Do we anticipate that the new system will be an equivalent amount, or cheaper, or more expensive?
It will be an equivalent amount. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I probably should know this, the rationale for switching, we go into a better system next year, I'm assuming, or
We are, and it's largely driven by the meter project that we're doing,
Okay,
that the
right.
new system will incorporate with the new different AMI meter system as opposed to the current AMR meter system that we have right now.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions or comments? Look for a motion for suspension of the rules,
Motion for
Second?
and a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of advertising for bids for the purchase of annual subscriptions and maintenance packages for the software currently used by various departments of the city through December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is an ordinance that allows us to continue to renew the maintenance packages on many different software packages that we have. Amongst those are our Workday, our city tax software that our income tax division uses, our Office 365 licensing, our GIS system, and there's many others, but these are systems that we have put into place that we don't intend to change, and therefore we need to renew those on an annual basis. So this just allows us to renew those annual maintenance agreements.
Mr. Malik?
Thank you. First of all, could we get a list of the different packages?
Yes, we can provide that.
Okay, thank you. And there's no rush on that.
Okay.
And then I noticed there isn't specific fund organ account numbers. Is it different by each department?
It's different by each department, so they're used by many different departments within the city, so all spread out to different cost centers.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I'm just curious, Steve, like in finance, you say you've got, how many people you have in finance now?
How many people do we have? About 100. Yeah.
So are they charged then for 100 licenses?
So, it depends on the package.
Let's say it's Office 365.
So, for instance, our Office 365, so that is used by the entire, workforce of the city of Akron, and we have different levels of licensing depending on what each person's job function is, and we are charging that back per individual user.
Okay, okay, very good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, looking for a motion for suspension of the rules.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Finally, we have an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into an agreement or agreements without the formality of advertising for bids with Amazon and WB Mason for the purchase of miscellaneous supplies and small dollar purchases used by various divisions and departments of the city for a period of 1 year, authorizing payment therefor and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this legislation deals with what we call our punch-out catalog vendors, which we have set up with Workday. This is new functionality that we did not have in our previous system, where we can basically buy office supplies and small dollar items similar to the way that people do at home with just a shopping cart type checkout and purchasing items. So it saves a lot of time in processing those purchase orders because it can all be done directly with the vendor. So we have these set up for both WB Mason, who does our office supplies, as well as Amazon, that is just used for miscellaneous supplies. And this is utilized by all different city departments.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Malik.
Motion for suspension of the rules and technical report.
We have a motion,
Second?
and we have a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Please offer a like sign. All right, we'll see that that is passed out this evening. And Ms. Viviano, we didn't have anything additional come in, did we? Okay. With that, thank you to each and every one of you for being here, and council members, committee members, council members, thank you so much, and we are adjourned at 3:25. Thank you.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet at 7 p.m. tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.